Hello Wolfpack, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a great weekend. Today's article is from The Insider, and I came across this on the most recent episode of the Roommates podcast. So thank you to them. An NYU professor says fewer men going to college will lead to a mating crisis, with the US producing too many broke and alone men. Let's get into it. Women now make up close to 60% of US college enrollees, a record, the Wall Street Journal reported. The gap between men and women enrolled in college is quickly widening, and the NYU professor Scott Galloway told CNN that the gap is leading to a mating crisis. And we've known this for some time. We've known that women now are outnumbering men in college in the US, and more generally as well, including here in the UK. Fewer men than women are attending college, which is leading to a mating crisis. Women make up 59.5% of college students at the end of the 2020 to 21 school year, an all-time high, the Wall Street Journal reported earlier this month, citing US Department of Education data. That's in comparison to 40.5% of men enrolled in college. And data from the National Center for Education Statistics found that in 1970 men made up close to 60% of those enrolled in college, compared to about 40% of women who were enrolled. Galloway told CNN that the problem is much bigger than just the current numbers, because men drop out at greater rates than women. College is becoming the domain of women and not men. The issue, he said, is being driven by the rising cost of college without much change to the quality of education. Elite universities, he said, are focused on giving a luxury experience and not expanding enrollment. Additionally, he said, college-age men have more options than their female peers. You can walk onto a construction site in Florida. You can turn on an app, cop, fireman, trade job, which at the age of 18, if you can make $100 to $200 a day, that feels like real cabbage. I've never heard money be called cabbage before. But Galloway warned that beyond the classroom, the gap is causing an existential threat to society, and that we are creating a dangerous cohort. We have mating inequality in the country, he said, adding that women with college degrees don't want to partner with men who don't hold a degree. That's bizarre. So you don't want to partner up with a plumber who makes a ridiculous income purely because he doesn't have a degree. Nonsense. The most dangerous person in the world is a broke and alone male, and we are producing too many of them, he said. That's a bold statement, a really bold statement, saying that the most dangerous person in the whole world is a broke and alone male. There's plenty of people who follow a lone wolf lifestyle who are not broke, but they're getting by, and they earn their money, they go to their job, and that's it, and they just, they're by themselves, and they're happy to be left alone. Are they dangerous? Usually these dudes that commit these crimes and violence and everything else, it's usually because of substance abuse, broader issues with mental health. I mean, to just come out and say, because you're not going to college, you're then a threat to society, is an absolute joke. Offensive, in fact. He said the most unstable, violent societies in the world all have one thing in common: young, depressed men who aren't attaching to work, aren't attaching to school, and aren't attaching to relationships. I think it's very important that all young men focus on developing themselves, especially as soon as they come out of school. They need to either go to college, or they need to go traveling, or they need to get straight into the workplace. It's very important. Whether it's work that they enjoy or they don't, you need to be earning some coin and stacking some money away and investing it, because then that will buy you freedom. And, if it's not traveling, I certainly advise men to travel at a young age. I spoke about that before in a different video. You don't have to attach to relationships, and you don't have to attach to school if you don't want to. I think the only people who should go to college or university are people who have a passion for a topic area and want to logically take that next step and improve their knowledge base, and actually have thought about what they're going to do with the qualification at the end. Of course, if you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor, then you have to go to college. But to say that college is this panacea for all of society's problems, it isn't. There's a lot of jobs you can do without a college education. The Journal reported that there's no reversal in sight for this gap. Women make up 49% of college-age people in this country, in the country, but in the 2021 to 22 school year, there were 3.8 million Common App college applications by women compared to just 2.8 million by men. In the fall of 2020, while the University of California, Los Angeles expanded enrollment by 3,000 students, 90% of those spots were filled by women. That same semester, only 41% of those enrolled in UCLA were men, the journal reported. UCLA Vice Provost Yolanda Copeland Morgan told the journal that men's applications are not more competitive, but that fewer men apply. Men are falling behind remarkably fast, said Thomas Mortensen, a senior scholar at the Pell Institute for the Study of Opportunity in Higher Education. Yeah, so I wouldn't take anything that this article says seriously, because obviously we know that women are hypergamous. They tend to date up. So if more and more women are getting college degrees, they'll tend to only date someone who's got a college degree. I would not let that deter you. I mean, I know this article says that it's going to lead to you being broke and alone, but this guy has got a vested interest. He's got a conflict of interest. He's a professor at a university. He depends on enrollment. He depends on more and more people coming. Like, it's a threat to his job. It's a threat to his future. If more and more men are giving up college and going into other things, it's his livelihood essentially to at least maintain or increase enrollment. So he's coming from a biased position, and for him to come around and say, well, it's going to lead to broken, alone men, and then they're dangerous to society. He's talking about a very, very small minority of men there. And in fact, oftentimes you can get an excellent education from the internet, from online courses at a fraction of the cost, and have just as much knowledge, just as much application as you would. I mean, with all of the global situation as it has been, a lot of the university courses, to my knowledge, have been online anyway. There's been no contact time, right? So I strongly urge people to just start earning money as soon as they get out of school. Build some skills. That's the key thing. Like, because when you're 18, you have zero skills, unless you've been extremely resourceful and creative when you're a teenager, when you're a kid at high school. You've got to get onto the jobs ladder and start getting practical experience in the adult world of work. And a lot of people that just go straight into college and sit there for years and years, getting degree after degree, they've never done that. A lot of people I've known in the past have never had a job until they leave college, and that's no good. So as a guy, you've got to get into the work environment, build cash, and invest it. A lot of people in their 20s don't invest at all. You've really got to invest and learn about investing. And you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. If you're following the lone wolf lifestyle, you will not be a problem. In fact, you'll be way ahead of the curve on pretty much everybody. So I wouldn't take anything this professor says seriously. That's it for this article. Thanks as always for tuning in and listening, and I'll see you in the next video.